السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. أما بعد. Inshallah, we'll be starting a new surah, inshallah. تفضل. Here we go.
Beers have their own voice.
Yeah. It's like wind.
إنا أرسلنا نوحا إلى قومه أن أنذر قومك من قبل أن يأتيهم عذاب أليم.
جزاك الله خير.
Verily, we sent Nuh to his people, saying, warn your people before there comes to them a painful torment.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. أما بعد. We start in Surah Nuh, and it is about Nuh alayhi salam and a summary of what happened or what was happening during his time and what he did about it and how the reaction of his people were and the punishment that came at the end. So what happened at the time of Nuh alayhi salam, it was in a great proportion, because it is about everybody that was living at the time. It was something that Shaitan worked on for a long time, generation after generation after generation. And Shaitan, as he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give him a respite until the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted him to be alive until the end of time, when everything will perish and then he will be resurrected with everybody else. So Shaitan continues being alive after generations and generations passes by. So his familiarity and his experience is unmatched with mankind since the time of Adam alayhi salam. So since the beginning of the creation of man until the end of time, he will be there. So he has time to work a plan. And as we know, when we work a plan, we work it within a time frame so we can get a result. So his time frame is the time of the existence of human being. So he worked with that advantage with the people of Nuh alayhi salam. And he's working with that advantage today. So what happened in a massive scale, comparing to the people who were living at the time. So they were muwahhidun, those who worship Allah and Allah alone. Shaitan will come and get a Muslim to have shirk, whatever way shirk it is. So if a Muslim resists because he's strong, he's close to Allah, he's doing the acts of worship, then he would compliment him of how much act of worship he's doing so he can slow down. So when he slows down, he puts his guard down, so then the other steps. If he does not quite slow down, then he would compliment him. Okay, compliment him. Of course, when ma'asiyah is coming, and the ma'asiyah is not something that shaitan would work on a lot with those who are believers. Because a ma'asiyah is when once one commits a ma'asiyah and he's close to Allah and so forth, and everybody commits a ma'asiyah, then he realizes that he committed a ma'asiyah, he goes back to Allah and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives him. And it's a promise that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives those who come into him for repentance. So shaitan is defeated over and over again. Then shaitan can propagate something with a believer that is different than that which was revealed, slight difference, okay, and hoping that this slight difference will develop. And so an act of worship in inviting a bid'ah in there, or inventing a bid'ah in there, an innovation in the act of worship. This is a trophy for shaitan, because the one who commits a bid'ah does not see it as a ma'asiyah, as a disobedience. On the contrary, he thinks that it is an obedience in a higher level. So they start propagating it, right? And keep propagating it, keep holding on to it, and adding on to it and so forth, until can bring one out of Islam. Okay? So those who invent ways to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with, and then they claim that they got so close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then they became one with Allah, and all of that, innovations and so forth. So at the time of Nuh alayhi salam, there were those scholars, as we know, Wadda wa Suwa'a wa Yaghutha wa Ya'uqa wa Nasra. Allah mentions their name close to the end of the surah. They were scholars, many of them, who are giving halaqat to the people, reminding people with Allah, and people responded to them, and the relationship with the people were tight, and the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was beautiful and strong. So when one of them died, shaitan encourages the remembrance of them. Okay? Let's go for a generation of remembrance and keep talking about him, keep talking about them. And then encouraging that they would do something to commemorate their memories and time. So they would have something there that represent them. And then they, what about, something that looks like them, okay? And you put it there where you are doing your halaqat. Okay, they are people who are righteous people who reminded you with Allah, and if people really connect to them and keep connected to them, they will be even closer and closer to Allah. So why would you lose this incentive of piety, right? So they introduced this sculpture, if you will, and then generation comes and goes, and then they take this as something that is blessed or blesses them. Another generation passes by and will be, they are the one who is being blessed by it. Okay? So then they would start giving offering to them. Then eventually they took them as deities and ways to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with. and shirk happened. So it happened throughout many generations, okay? And shaitan, his works through many, many generations. But these days, and for a while, since the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the connection of the earth was there. Meaning the East and West knew each other. Messages will go across. The Romans and Persians were there. And, world powers were there. And, wars were going on. And, trades was going on. And so that was the time to send Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with a message that would last until the Day of Judgment, because now it's going to be a message that everybody will get it in a very short time, and it will last. It will not go away. So that kind of connection in the world, okay, Shaitan used that as a way of, now when something goes, a new idea comes in, a new introduction for something is not local anymore. Of course, the time passes by and we know how it is today. It is instantly all over the world. So Shaitan has a lot of tools to work with now. But throughout history, since the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the corruption of the church was there. Meaning the church was an authority in Europe. They call it the Dark Ages. That there were authority in Europe that they were holding on to the last word in anything, in everything. So the connection to God, as they say, was there, and the authority was given to them, or they gave it to themselves, to make up law and make up things so they could do whatever it is that they wish. So anything could be possible because they have some kind of a connection with their Creator. So God told me this, God told me that, therefore I will do this. Therefore will change this and do that. That's how the Dark Ages became dark. And now the changes and the rebellion against this was there. For example, in Germany, Martin Luther came with the Protestant move, saying we protest against the church and what they are doing and so forth, and the way the ideology developed to become something that is not the original one. We have to go back to the original one and so forth. Of course, there is no original one to go back to. Then the word humanity started to come up, and a human being becomes the focus of everything. Okay, the Renaissance in Europe started, and little by little, through the arts, and where mankind is the focus of all of this. So meaning that you could see in their art before the Renaissance, when you look at the churches and the paintings and so forth, you see that everything was stylized in a way that stylized, meaning everybody almost looked the same. Okay, the holy people, with some kind of a circle over their head indicates that the hollow there, that they are some kind of a holy people. And Maryam alayhi salam supposedly painted in a very stylized way, and Isa alayhi salam is a baby, his face is still long nose and stuff, and how, that the same thing over his head and so forth. When the matter became focused in human being as the center of the universe, you find that the art changes, okay? Now the people would look exactly like the people were existing at the time, where all the paintings of Da Vinci's and Michelangelo's and all of those, right? You were all familiar with it in a way, that the Mona Lisa, for example, how she looks. She was the wife of a merchant. That the merchant went to Leonardo da Vinci, told him, I want you to have a portrait of my wife. I want to have, her picture there. And so he painted his wife. So that is a particular person and so forth. The point is, in all matters, human being became the focus. Okay? Therefore, a human being became the one who in charge of their own destiny. Then you find the writers, okay, the Machiavelli comes up with his ideas of politics, okay? His books that he wrote that is still, is a principle today to use, which is the goal justifies the means. And it doesn't matter how you get to there, just get there, because the goal is noble. You can go crooked, it doesn't matter, right? And so you find this way of politics starts and so forth. The point being is like the time of Nuh alayhi salam, this is something now is going throughout the world, right? Little by little. That mankind is the one who's in charge, not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anymore. But if people insist that they have a relationship with God, then we'll give them a relationship with God in a limited way of an act of worship. But then your life matters belong to you, and God does not have a right to tell you what to do. That's exactly what Shaitan did. That he believed that Allah creator is the creator, provider, sustainer. However, he refused that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will tell him what to do, and he's not going to make sujood as Allah told him, with whatever reasons that he has. So that is the concept that's been prevailing, from since that time. And and we as Muslims, we say we are, by Allah, for Allah, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning we all about the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you find the way of governing now is what? By the people, for the people, and so forth, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is out of, in the way of the people, out of the equation. And how the Khilafah was there, and how this way of governing the mankind, governing themselves, start to creep up on the Muslim world. And after World War I and World War II, eventually the matter was finished. During the Ottoman Empire, the last days and months and few years of the end, you find those who came into the empire or the Khilafah from within, with these ideas that now there is something that is better than what they had, something an alternative to what they have, something that brings fruit because what they have is old. You find Kemal Atatürk in Turkey. Who was he? Okay, he was in the army, and he led wars, and he won wars. He was a mujahid, and we called him mujahid, so and so, to the point that when the Khilafah collapsed and he won many battles and so forth, he got offers from India, from the East and the West, of Muslims telling him, we're going to give you bay'ah to become our Khalifa. We don't have a Khalifa. We want you to become our Khalifa. And he said, yes, but not now. And he eventually refused the idea. I mean, you know, if you are Mujahid and La ilaha illallah is with you and this and that and this is the enemy, so here is a chance to put the Muslimin together. He refused. And eventually that was the plan. Eventually he completely, officially said there is no more Khilafah. Officially, and the Khilafah was gone. And then his wife took the hijab off. And then he would introduce Western ideas. So those who are governors and judges and so forth, they're no longer allowed to put the turban on. So they get the Western hat. If they want to cover their head, they get the Western hat and put it on. Okay? And you know, when gathering happens and start the gathering, he would get up with his wife and dance. Right? Meaning now we are, you know, going into a new way of life now and so forth. Then the Arabic is taken away completely from the culture, is not taught. Then the adhan is given by the Turkish language. It's not Allahu Akbar anymore. Yeah, you want to give the adhan, give it, but in a different language. And on and on. And the Muslim world as a world that was connected, literally connected together, meaning there were no borders at all. Okay, no borders. Imagine you go from Morocco to China as you wish. You can live any place you wish, you can move as you wish, you can trade as you wish. Okay? And this happened from day one as the Muslimun came out of the Arabian Peninsula. Once they entered a place, the borders are gone, the borders are down. And everybody is a Muslim, everybody is a brother of the others, and the connection was there. So that had to change. So, and connection from the West to those individuals here and there to promise them, for example, in the Arabian Peninsula. They had the aid of the West and the British to actually have the Khilafah themselves. Because the Turkish are not good enough now, and Islam came to the Arabs and so forth. So you are better people. We're gonna, you know, help you against the Turks. So you could have the Khilafah and so forth. And they did agree, and the Turks went down. And then, what is the Khilafah? There is no Khilafah. Okay, and the promise is broken, and now a little bit of you know, countries came up with some families that they have a special deals. So a place like, you know, Mamlaka, you know, the kingdom of this, the kingdom of that, you know, and all these small countries that came about and so forth, and borders started to develop. But when that happened, people still have to connect to something, right? They have those who are now in a small area, geographical area, they have to connect to something. So they connect to what? To nationalities. They connect to some kind of system which was introduced to them, that they are the one who can govern themselves and so forth. And okay, the idea of the West of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is away from the way of you know, governing your own affairs, and you are the one who knows you the best about what you have and so forth. So that these ideas was spread out all over. Just like the time of Nuh alayhi salam. Now it is all over the world to the point that the Muslim lands, they call for it. They call for it. They tell you that this is what we want, right? We want our freedom so we can have our own democracy and so forth. Okay? And anyone who calls for the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes a extremist and so forth and backward and all of that. So it is something that is all over, and the Muslims are taking it as it is and even propagated among themselves. But because the Arabic and the Quran is in Arabic, because the Quran is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah protects it, so it is spread all over the world and it's still connecting the Muslimin. The way that we worship and the way we do things is the same. So every time the Muslim world, the Muslims curve come down, it is easy to come back up because there is something in common or many things in common that brings them together. They can revive what they have because what they have it can never go away. They cannot revive something that is corrupt like before, right? Well, the revive is something that is authentic. And once that happens, then the Muslims take over again and so forth. They are empowered again. So that is the issue that has to be attacked by those who want, control. And it is around. And it is so in those who believe, that God does not exist, the way of Darwin is the way of the development of humanity. God has nothing to do with the creation and so forth. It is ideas that our own children studies in their own schools and in colleges and so forth, to get these ideas of kufr and shirk into the mainstream, and it is the mainstream. And so I'm just trying to make a connection between what happened in the time of Nuh alayhi salam in the world at the time and how things change in it, and until the only few people were on the ship was Nuh alayhi salam, and everybody else drowned, punished, gone, perished. Okay? And a new world started. Okay? From those who were on the boat. Nothing like this happens now. Okay, this is the sunnah of those before us, but not after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this struggle will continue. However, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us that those who are holding on to the straight path, to the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, will always exist. You always find them. There might be few numbers, they might be scattered here and there, but they always will be there. No one will harm them, and their enemy will not harm them, and those who criticize them will not harm them, and they will last until the day of judgment. And the companion used to ask, when the time of difficulty comes, what do we do? Rasulullah said, find al-jama'ah, find those who are holding on to the truth and join them. Okay. So it is now in the time in the world that it is not enough we should do more than just bringing in the benefit. We should find out where the harm is and try to push away the harm, because the harm is coming. Alhamdulillah. Shaitan is working with his soldiers all over in an intense way. And we should take him as an enemy, take these ideas as our enemy. Not take those who carry it as our enemy, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created or picked us, okay, as Muslim. Kuntum khayra ummah ukhrijat linnas. You were the best nation that Allah brought out for people. For people, we have to put this in our mind, that we are ukhrijna linnas. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has us for the people. So it is the the love for the people, for the love that we have for the people, so they can hold on, the love that we want them to be saved and hold on to the truth and find the truth and hold on to it, is a motivation we should have all the time. And and that is not, this is truly really love, that you want people to be guided, and you're doing your best to help them. And those who claim unity, claim this, claim that, and fight against the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is hate. That is true extremism and hate. Okay? We're not the extreme one. They are the extreme one. We are the one who love, humanity to reach a level of entering Jannah. Okay? They work with shaitan to get this humanity to break apart, to have a war against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Apologize, we went in tangent in this, but it's just a fact that we need to look at it. It becomes clear to us, so we know how to deal with it and see the urgency of dealing with it. Please, inshallah, if you want to make any comments, I'm sure a lot of comments will come out of this, inshallah. تفضلوا إن شاء الله.
Thank you, Sheikh Mahmoud. You gave us a very broad look, broad perspective of the work of the shaitan throughout the history. Especially the beginning so that's when the plan of the shaitan began, the disobedience of the shaitan to all creations began, and tried to come up with ideas of not obeying Allah and following his desires. So that plan continues today, and you gave us a broad perspective on that, subhanAllah, and it will continue to the day of judgment.
Yes.
The objective of this surah is probably the da'wah in general.
Yes. You can I have to come back.
Yeah. The goal of the surah, as we probably shall see, is in the first ayah that I read, is أنذر قومك, meaning warn your people. Warn against the coming shaitan, no, not shaitan, but the adhab, the day of judgment, the punishment that is ahead. There comes to them a painful torment. So warn against those, because the warning that you give is the first step of giving da'wah. That hey, if you follow this path will lead you to Jahannam. So beware. Stop following this crooked path that will lead you to Jahannam, and then turn around and go ahead, follow this particular straight path that will lead you to Jannah. And then in this process, you have shaitan that will mislead people. And of course you have du'at, those who are calling towards the straight path, are also there, encouraging people to have a knowledge that will help them go to the straight path. So, we shall see in this surah that, like Sheikh Mahmoud was saying, that people out of love, they make statues of their loved ones, and then eventually, because of the plan of the shaitan working on the minds of the people, eventually people started to believe on those statues, unfortunately, okay? And Prophet Nuh was constantly, day and night, secretly, openly, trying to do his best, not letting any moment, go by without him giving a da'wah to help people to come back to the straight path, so that inshallah they are going to be heading towards Jannah. So this warning, this knowledge, this reminder is part of the da'wah of Prophet Yunus that span over 960 years, as you all know. It's unbelievable. And out of those years of da'wah, a day and night, how many people believed? The reports say, narrations say, not more than 80 or something, the highest one. So alhamdulillah, so the lesson we draw from this surah, as we shall see inshallah, is how the importance of da'wah is. Da'wah to each and every Muslim, whatever we know, we don't need to know that much, but as long as a believer, as long as we know the meaning of La ilaha illallah, we definitely know that we are on the right path, because this is the path of the truth. And there's only one truth. So we need to keep up, whenever we see our co-workers who are not Muslims, friends, neighbors, and whoever is not on the right path, we need to, inshallah, give them, slowly, wallahi al-azim, showing them our good character, saying something nice, saying something the truth about Islam. And then, of course, like Prophet Yusuf, for example, his character is his da'wah, subhanallah. The Prophet Yusuf's character, unbelievably, is the da'wah. So we don't need to say that much, but, if we show in our actions that we care for them, that we are from them, we are part of our humanity in this world, inshallah, that da'wah will, with the help of Allah, will probably hit its target. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك